Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every life where a decision must be made, not between success and failure, not between winning and losing, but between positivity and regret. You must choose, stay positive or regret it forever. Why? Because your mind is the control tower of your destiny. A person with a defeated mind will find defeat in everything they touch. A person with a victorious mind will find opportunity even in the darkest hour. This is not magic, this is not theory, this is law. You must understand, your thoughts are the architects of your future. You are building something right now, whether you realize it or not. The question is, what kind of life are you building? If you feed your mind with doubt, you will reap delay. Feed it with fear, and you will attract failure. But feed it with faith, courage, and determination, and you will unlock doors you never knew existed. Positivity is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, you are equipped to handle it. Positivity is power in motion. Negativity, on the other hand, is a silent killer. It drains your energy, distorts your focus, and paralyzes your potential. Worst of all, it whispers lies that sound like truth. Lies like, you're not good enough. Lies like, why even try? Lies like, it's too late. And if you believe those lies long enough, you'll look back one day, not with pride, but with regret. The most painful kind, not because you failed, but because you never gave yourself a fair chance. You didn't believe. You didn't persist. You didn't stay positive long enough to see the miracle take shape. Regret is the reward of the negative mind, but there's a better reward waiting for those who dare to see the light in every storm. Because when you commit to positivity, real, disciplined, unwavering positivity, you begin to notice things, you begin to take action, you begin to attract people, situations, and resources that align with your goal. You become magnetic, focused, unstoppable. You begin to see that every setback carries within it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity, but you'll only find that seed if you're positive enough to look for it. Think of the people you admire most, the game changers, the leaders, the visionaries. They weren't exempt from pain, loss, or failure, but they stayed positive. They believed in their vision even when no one else did. And that belief gave them the energy to endure, to evolve, and to emerge victorious. You can do the same, but it starts with a decision, a commitment, to stay positive even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So the next time you find yourself surrounded by doubt, by setbacks, by failure, remember, you have a choice. You can sink into regret, or you can rise with resolve. Stay positive and keep going, because those who refuse to quit will never have to wonder what might have been. Your thoughts are not fleeting, meaningless currents drifting through your mind. They are forces, real, measurable, and powerful. Everything you are, everything you've become, and everything you will be begins as a thought. Before the skyscraper touches the clouds, it exists in the mind of the architect. Before the novel is written, it exists in the imagination of the author. Before the life of success, abundance, health, and purpose can be experienced, it must be built in the mind. You don't need a crystal ball to see your future. You need only examine your dominant thoughts. What you think about most, consciously or unconsciously, is exactly what you begin to manifest in your life. This is not speculation, this is principle. You attract what you dwell on. If your mind is consumed by fear, you will unknowingly align your behavior, choices, and habits with that fear. You will see obstacles where others see openings. You will hesitate where others act. You will retreat when others rise. And eventually, the life you feared becomes the life you live. Not because of fate, but because your mind built a reality to match your beliefs. Now consider the opposite. A person who chooses to fill their mind with purpose, with belief, with possibility, begins to generate a different energy. They develop mental magnetism. They act with intention. They see opportunities where others see problems. They attract people, ideas, and conditions that align with their vision because their thoughts demand it. This is not about toxic positivity. This is about disciplined thought. Your mind is like a garden. You can either plant seeds of power or seeds of poison. Both will grow, but you must choose. If you leave your mind unattended, if you allow worry, jealousy, anger, and limitation to grow wild, they will consume your garden and choke the life from everything good. But if you plant courage, gratitude, clarity, and faith, those will take root, grow deep, and shape a life of stability and strength. What most people fail to realize is that the world does not shape their thoughts. Their thoughts shape their world. You could take two individuals, place them in the same situation, facing the same challenges, and one will break while the other breaks through. Why? Not because of their resources, not because of their education, not because of their circumstances, but because of the dominating thoughts in their mind. One believes they are a victim, the other believes they are a force. One thinks they can't, the other thinks they must. And that thought, that single distinction, writes two entirely different life stories. This is why you must guard your mind with vigilance, because your thoughts are not passive. They are creative. Every invention, every fortune, every empire, every movement, every revolution, every cure, every innovation began in the same place. The mind of a person who dared to believe it was possible. And on the other side, every collapse, every scandal, every wasted life also began with a single thought. I can't, I shouldn't, it's not for me. I'm not enough. If you knew how powerful your thoughts truly are, you would never think small again. You would never doubt yourself again. You would never allow another limiting belief to live rent-free in your mind, because your mind is not a container. It's a creator. It is the workshop of your destiny. What you feed it becomes the blueprint. What you allow in becomes what you live out. That's why it's not enough to simply reject negative thinking. You must replace it. You must flood your mind daily with images of who you want to be, what you want to build, and how you want to live. You must speak life, think life, breathe life, and act in accordance with that vision, even when your current circumstances haven't yet caught up. That's the path, and it begins with the thoughts you choose to dwell on. Remember this: the world will try to distract you, discourage you, and define you. But the most powerful definition of who you are is the one you give yourself through the thoughts you repeat every single day. Choose them wisely, because your thoughts are not just ideas. They are the beginning of everything. Negativity is not something that happens to you. It's something you choose. It might not feel like a choice at first, because it often disguises itself as realism, caution, or self-protection. But in truth, when you respond to life with a negative mindset, you are exercising your power to choose. And you're choosing to lower your vibration, limit your potential, and close the doors that optimism would have opened. The circumstances of your life are not responsible for your mindset. You are. Every person has the ability to look at the same event, the same loss, the same failure, and make a conscious decision to be bitter or better, to complain or to correct, panic or to prepare. That power is never taken from you. When something goes wrong, you can choose to blame the world, or you can choose to look inward and ask, what can I learn? How can I grow? What's my next best move? Positivity is not a denial of difficulty. It's not pretending that bad things don't happen. It's a strategy, a disciplined mental habit that says, yes, this happened. Now what am I going to do about it? It's the refusal to give your energy to problems more than you give your energy to solutions. Most people surrender to negativity without realizing it. They think their anger is justified, their bitterness is deserved, their complaining is harmless. But each time you allow negative thoughts to lead the way, you reinforce them, and they begin to take root in your mind like weeds in an untended field. Before long, negativity becomes the lens through which you see everything. Your job, your relationships, your goals, and even your future. You start expecting disappointment, and so you experience more of it. You begin to assume people are out to hurt you, and so you isolate yourself. You anticipate failure, so you stop trying, and slowly your life becomes a mirror of your most dominant inner thoughts. But here's the truth that will set you free. No one can force you to think negatively. It is always a decision. Even if you grew up surrounded by cynicism, even if people have hurt you, even if you've failed 1,000 times, still, right now, in this moment, you have the power to choose what thoughts will live in your mind. You can choose to see the good. You can choose to speak life. You can choose to believe that your best days are ahead, not behind, and that single choice will begin to change everything. Positive people are not lucky. They are intentional. They train their minds daily. They reject toxic thoughts before they can take hold. They shift their focus from what's missing to what's possible. They practice gratitude even when it's hard. They speak kindly to themselves. They expect good things, and because of that, they often receive them. Not because of some magical force, but because they're more alert to opportunity, more resilient under pressure, and more magnetic to others who share their energy. Choosing positivity is like tuning your radio to a different frequency. If you've been listening to static, doubt, and fear for years, you don't need a new life. You need a new station. You must deliberately change the channel. You must tune into thoughts that lift you, guide you, and challenge you to be better. And you must do this not once, but every day, because the world will always offer reasons to complain, to criticize, to quit. But those reasons are powerless unless you accept them. Your energy is your responsibility. You don't owe the world your anger. You don't owe your past your loyalty. You don't owe your setbacks your future. You owe yourself the chance to move forward with peace, clarity, and confidence. And that begins by saying, I choose positivity today. No matter what happens, I control my thoughts. I command my focus. I build my life one choice at a time. The greatest victories are often won in silence, when no one's watching and nothing looks certain. But the person who keeps their mind strong, their heart clean, and their thoughts aligned with their purpose will always come out ahead. Not because they never faced hardship, but because they refuse to let negativity decide their fate. The most powerful people in the world are not the loudest or the wealthiest. They are the ones who mastered the quiet discipline of choosing light over darkness, belief over doubt, hope over despair, and that power is available to you not tomorrow, not someday, but right now. The future is not something that happens to you. It is something that is shaped moment by the quality of your thinking today. Most people live as if their future is determined by chance, fate, or the decisions of others. They wait for opportunities, they react to problems, and they hope that somehow everything will fall into place. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. Your mindset today is laying the bricks of your tomorrow. If you think small today, you will act small tomorrow. If you doubt yourself today, you will hesitate when it matters most tomorrow. If you carry bitterness, fear, or resentment in your heart today, those same emotions will become the chains that hold you back in your future. But if you choose strength, if you think with vision, if you fill your mind with belief and discipline today, then your future begins to shift, even before you see any results, because every great life begins with a great mindset, not a lucky break. Mindset is the invisible foundation beneath all success. It determines how you interpret the world. Two people can face the exact same difficulty. One sees a wall, the other sees a door. One sees failure, the other sees feedback. One stops, the other starts again. The difference isn't talent. The difference is mindset, and that mindset doesn't just appear. It's something you choose, sharpen, and commit to every single day. Many people confuse mindset with mood, but mood is temporary. Mindset is a lifestyle. Your mood may be affected by your circumstances, but your mindset is your chosen lens, your inner code, your default setting when no one's watching. If your mindset is rooted in growth, you'll find a way forward even in the darkest times. If it's rooted in defeat, even the brightest opportunities will seem unreachable. Your actions always follow your dominant thoughts. If you want to change your life, you don't start with what you do. You start with how you think. Before any transformation happens externally, it must be established internally. If you believe that you're capable, you'll move toward your goals. If you believe you're stuck, you'll stay where you are, even if freedom is just one step away. That's why mindset is not just important. It is everything. It is the seed, and your future is the harvest. The people you admire, the ones who seem to make impossible things happen, do not possess some magical advantage. What they possess is clarity of thought. They think in terms of possibilities. They assume responsibility. They program their minds for success before the world offers them any guarantees. That mindset fuels their actions, and those actions create the reality they live in. What you think repeatedly becomes what you expect. What you expect influences what you pursue. What you pursue shapes what you experience, and what you experience becomes your life. But it all begins with your thinking today, in this moment. This is the power most people ignore. They chase external goals without correcting the internal dialogue. They hope for better results without changing the root cause of their stagnation, a mindset that is either stuck in the past or paralyzed by the future. Your future self is depending on the mindset you carry today. If you train yourself to think differently, more courageously, more intentionally, more positively, you begin to set in motion a chain reaction. Doors open, people respond, resources arrive, not because the world suddenly became easier, But because you began to see with sharper eyes and act with stronger resolve, nothing changes until your thinking changes. If you want to change your health, it begins with a mindset that values consistency over comfort. If you want to build wealth, it begins with a mindset that sees opportunity instead of limitation. If you want stronger relationships, it begins with a mindset of empathy, patience, and growth. Every new outcome is built on a new way of thinking, and that new way of thinking must begin today. The greatest tragedy is not failure. It is living with the mindset that tomorrow will somehow fix what you refuse to change today. Time does not improve your circumstances. Your mindset does. The most valuable time to upgrade your thinking is always now, because the beliefs you reinforce today become the habits you live by tomorrow. The standards you set in your mind today become the results you accept in your life tomorrow. Your future does not begin in a week or a year or 10 years. It begins the moment you decide to think differently. Right now, regret is not born from failure. It is born from the opportunities you never pursued, the chances you talked yourself out of, the dreams you left untouched because of fear, doubt, or delay. Most people do not lie awake at night mourning what they tried and failed at. They lie awake thinking about what they could have done, what they should have done, and what they never gave themselves permission to attempt. True sting of regret is not in falling short. It is in never showing up for the life you are capable of living. Failure, contrary to popular belief, is not the enemy. It is the teacher. It is the proving ground. Every successful person you've ever admired has a history of failure behind them. What they don't have is a history of hesitation. They tried, they acted, they committed, they moved even when the path was unclear, and because of that, they found the rhythm of progress. But those who never begin, who wait for perfect timing or guaranteed results, end up trapped in the same place year after year, haunted by the question, what if? It is inaction that robs your future. Inaction is the silent killer of potential. It disguises itself as caution, as logic, even as patience, but behind its mask lies fear, the fear of discomfort, the fear of judgment, the fear of not being enough, and so the mind creates excuses, distractions, and stories that justify the delay. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and one day you wake up and realize you're no closer to your goal than you were a decade ago. Not because you failed, but because you never started. There is no safety in inaction. It only feels safe because it avoids confrontation, but while you are avoiding risks, life is moving forward. Opportunities are passing by, time is being spent, and the cost is invisible until it's irreversible. You begin to see others grow while you remain the same. You see someone else take the very leap you once dreamed about. You see someone living the life you imagined, and the pain is not that they succeeded, it's that you didn't give yourself the chance. The people who achieve great things are not fearless. They simply understand that the pain of effort, risk, and even temporary failure is far less than the lifelong burden of wondering what could have been. They choose movement over safety. They choose courage over perfection. And by doing so, they create a life that is rich with experience, growth, and self-respect. Every step you avoid taking becomes a missed opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. Every time you silence your inner calling, you reinforce a belief that you are not ready, not worthy, or not enough. And that belief slowly becomes your reality, not because it was ever true, but because you allowed it to go unchallenged. Inaction trains your mind to expect less, to settle, and to shrink your dreams into manageable disappointments. On the other hand, action, even imperfect action, creates momentum. It builds confidence. It teaches you what works and what doesn't. It makes you resilient, and most importantly, it leaves no room for regret. Because when you act, when you try, when you give your full effort, you earn something that no amount of success or failure can take away: peace of mind, the peace of knowing that you were bold enough to show up for your life. Some people are so afraid of failure that they build a life of quiet regret. They convince themselves they're avoiding pain, but in truth they are building a prison of what-ifs. But pain is inevitable either way. The question is, which pain will you choose? The temporary pain of effort, discipline, and risk, or the permanent pain of regret? One strengthens you, the other haunts you. No one reaches the end of their life wishing they had played smaller, spoken up less, or stayed more comfortable. They wish they had acted, loved more boldly, taken the chance, followed the dream. They wish they had moved instead of waiting, and they would trade everything just to go back and do it differently. But you have something they don't, the moment in front of you. You still have a choice. You still have the ability to act. The door is not yet closed. The question is not whether you'll fail. The question is whether you'll move, whether you'll dare, whether you'll live in such a way that when the story is told, it won't be filled with apologies for the chances you never took, but pride in the actions you had the courage to make. Positivity is not a fleeting emotion you stumble upon when life is easy. It is not a warm feeling that only arrives when everything is going well. True positivity is a discipline. It is a conscious, deliberate, and daily decision to direct your mind, your focus, and your energy toward what builds rather than what breaks. While most people wait to feel positive before acting, those who live extraordinary lives understand a simple truth. You act first, and feeling follows. Feelings are inconsistent. They are influenced by mood, sleep, environment, stress, and the opinions of others. But discipline is steady. It shows up even when motivation doesn't. Discipline is the decision to speak life when negativity is louder. It is the choice to seek perspective when problems cloud your view. It is the ability to rise with clarity and intention, even when the world gives you every excuse to complain, doubt, or give up. Staying positive doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It means choosing to anchor your thoughts in strength instead of fear. It means refusing to surrender your inner world to outer chaos. You will not always be in control of what happens to you, but you are always in control of what happens within you. That control is where the discipline begins. It starts in the small, invisible choices. Thoughts you allow to linger, the words you speak out loud, the stories you tell yourself when no one is listening. Some mornings you will wake up and feel unstoppable. Other days you will wake up with doubt hanging over you like a storm. But if you've trained your mind, if you've conditioned your thinking, if you've committed to the discipline of positivity, then even on your worst days, you will have the strength to move forward. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You will do the work. You will show up. You will speak faith, not because you feel like it, but because you've made a decision about the kind of person you are becoming. Discipline is what separates temporary hope from lasting transformation. Anyone can be positive when the sun is shining and the road is smooth. But what do you do when everything falls apart? What do you do when the results are delayed, when people disappoint you, when the weight of life feels unbearable? That is when the discipline matters most. That is when you either rise through your training or fall through your feelings. The disciplined mind doesn't react, it responds. It doesn't fall into panic or blame. It searches for meaning, purpose, and lessons. It uses adversity as fuel, not as an excuse. This kind of thinking is not built overnight. It is built in repetition. Just as you train a muscle, you train your mind. Each time you choose gratitude over grumbling, patience over frustration, or progress over perfection, you are strengthening your internal discipline. And over time it becomes your nature, not because life got easier, but because you became stronger. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that positive people are just naturally that way, that they were born with an unshakable spirit or an optimistic heart. But positivity is not a gift. It is a skill, a discipline, and like any skill, it must be practiced, especially when it's hardest to do so. You learn to breathe calmly in chaos. You learn to focus on possibility and uncertainty. You learn to stay grounded when everything around you is shaking, and that kind of power is not found in books or speeches. It is found in your decisions, daily, quietly, consistently. Discipline is not glamorous. It often looks like talking yourself out of doubt before it festers. It looks like turning off the noise that stirs fear and turning your attention toward what strengthens you. It means guarding your inner world like a fortress, refusing to allow negativity to plant seeds in your mind and grow roots in your soul. To stay positive in a negative world is not weakness. It is strength. It is leadership. It is mastery over self. Anyone can be overwhelmed by life, but the person who trains their thoughts, the person who chooses their focus, becomes the one who writes their own story, not as a victim of circumstances, but as the author of possibility. That kind of discipline pays dividends you can't yet imagine. It shows up in your health, your relationships, your confidence, your business, your peace. It becomes your advantage in a world ruled by reaction, because when others are swayed by fear, you stand. When others break under pressure, you bend but do not break. And when the moment comes for greatness, it will not be a feeling that carries you. It will be the discipline you built in the dark. In the end, staying positive is not just about feeling good. It's about choosing power over passivity, action over fear, and hope over regret. Your mindset today builds the foundation of your tomorrow. Negativity is a choice, just as positivity is. Regret comes not from failure, but from the moments you hesitate and hold back. And the strength to stay positive is not a fleeting emotion. It is a daily discipline that shapes the life you live and the legacy you leave behind. So, choose to be the person who acts boldly, thinks clearly, and believes deeply. Choose to stay positive, not because life is easy, but because your future depends on the mindset you cultivate now. Remember, the best version of yourself is not found by chance. It is created by choice. Act as if you are the best, because that belief will lead you to become your very best. The time to decide is now. Embrace positivity as your discipline. Take charge of your thoughts and live a life that leaves no room for regret. The world is waiting for the greatness that only you can bring. Stay positive or regret it forever.